What is up, SuperCoaches? It is your SuperCoach sister, aka Ebony, here with the ultimate beginner's guide to NRL SuperCoach. I'm basically looking back after my very first season on everything I wish I knew when I started, so that if this is your first time round, you can kick into your season with a lot of confidence. Today, what I'm focusing in on is the fact that NRL SuperCoach, in fact, has its own language ecosystem. Because once I realized I wanted to take SuperCoach relatively seriously and have a good crack at it, I was so thankful that there is a huge variety of help out there. I was digging deep into so much of the content being provided, whether it was on YouTube or podcasts, obviously just socials, and man, did I love how much was out there. But I probably spent the first month trying to consume all of that content, absolutely lost because so often they would use phrases or terms that I was not yet familiar with. Obviously, there's going to be jargon or slang specific to a niche little interest area, and so I wish I'd started the season aware of these terms, so that's what I'm here to offer you today. A very fast, quick guide into translating some of that jargon. Welcome to the ultimate beginner's guide to SuperCoach slang. Let's go. Okay, so first up, you're going to hear phrases that they use in reference to players that we can obviously either select in our squad. The very first one, many of these you'll notice are intuitive, is the term cheapie. So this basically means a player who is priced probably sub 350, maybe 300k, someone who may be in their rookie season or often comes off the bench. But this player is someone who is quite affordable and you need to balance out with your team. But this term is then often phrased with what we would call a cash cow. So this is somebody who starts off at pretty good value, but is looking very promising at providing an increase in their value. So basically we think that the price that they're based at is going to go up very quickly as they start accumulating SuperCoach points in the season. One of the other phrases you'll often hear is a gun. Again, very super intuitive, but it means one of our typically higher priced players that we can expect quality performances from. And most squads need to have a little bit of a combo of guns and cheapies because, let's face it, we can't afford all of the guns. Next up, you'd hear the term pod quite frequently, standing for, of course, point of difference. So what you start to notice is lots of the popular players get selected by almost everybody. And there are a lot of strategic players out there who will intentionally choose a pod or person who is a point of difference so that they have the opportunity to take points where other people might not already be claiming them. Also, you might hear the phrase DPP, which just stands for dual position player. This means somebody like Jackson Purdue or Jermaine Hopgood, who has been classified to fulfill the role of both CTW and fullback, or 2RF and CTW, maybe even hooker and 5/8, which means that once they are in your squad, you have the flexibility to be able to play them in one of those two dual positions. This was the one that I probably didn't know for a long time what it meant, the term nuff. This essentially means a cheapie player that we're popping into our squad who we know will not actually play and actually accumulate points, because we need to have somebody on the bench that hasn't cost us a lot of money but won't be at risk of scoring points because they could turn into our next point of jargon, an auto emergency. An auto emergency is a player who you didn't actually select in your starting lineup or as one of your 4 reserves, but because somebody you looped or somebody you had selected did not play, they take on your lowest scoring player to add into your weekly scores. So we don't want a player that's going to earn 4 or 5 points because they jumped on off the bench for the last 10 minutes. Hence why we might select instead a nuff, a player we know for sure will not take the field. Next up are some phrases that are often used to describe players or their attributes or what we're looking for as point scorers. First and foremost, the phrase floor. The term floor is generally used to describe the lowest possible scoring potential of a player. So usually we're looking for players that have at least some good level of point scoring ability. If somebody has a low floor, but on their best day, they have an absolute blinder. You have to take the risk of whether or not you're willing for them to have one of those low days. Next up, the term ceiling. This one took me a long time to actually work out what they were talking about, but it's basically a player's ability to actually burst through, say, a cap of what might be a typical scoring level and achieve really, really high quality points in any given week. Base. This is the term used to describe a simple but fundamental level of work that accumulates points. So whether that be hit-ups or tackles, we would say this is what we can expect a player to get, even if they don't have major other contributions to the game. So someone with a good base, especially say in your forwards or your hooker roles, is usually someone to select because you know what to expect and what you'll get out of them. Then you've also got on top of that the base plus power. So this is also looking at, does this player have an ability not just to take a lot of effective runs and hit-ups, but are they known for a good sneaky offload to add a little bit of the power points that come on top of that usual work rate? PPM is points per minute. So we're looking at if you have a forward who's usually only getting 40 to 50 minutes of game time, what is their PPM? Because if their PPM is still 1.5, even if they're only getting on there for 40 minutes, they're still going to score you a 60, which if they're one of your bench players, might not be that bad. But if you have an expensive player whose PPM is maybe 0.8, and the amount of time they spend on the field only gets you a 0.8 rate of points, maybe it's not worth it. The term break even, you'll see, will become very important. So this is the number calculated every week for what a player is expected to score in order to maintain their value. So if you paid a pretty penny for someone like James Tedesco and his break even is at 80 and he that week only scores a 60, you can expect his price is going down the following week. The term loop, which probably a little bit more advanced than when we're first starting out in SuperCoach, but it's based on our captaincy and vice captaincy choices. We'll come back around to that in a future video. But also the term fade. It took me a long time as well. This is not a haircut. This is in fact a term used to describe when you are intentionally choosing not to select someone who might usually be expected to be chosen. For example, this season, I know a lot of people are debating whether to fade Nathan Cleary because he is pretty expensive and the Panthers have a tough draw to kick into 2026. So this is just a few of the key terms or phrases that you will so often hear SuperCoach creators refer to. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope this has been helpful. If it has, go ahead and hit that like button. And even if you want to subscribe to the channel so that you catch every video that might support you in starting your 2026 SuperCoach season well, this is the SuperCoach sister. Have a great week.